Critical Assignment 2, Book Discussion and Leveled Learning Centers. Hi, I'm Taylor Green. Have you ever thought of a world where you couldn't have siblings? Or a world where you couldn't have pets, due to the population being so high? What about a world where everything is controlled by an entity known as the population police? Doesn't sound good. Well, for Luke Garner, that is a reality. Margaret Peterson's Haddocks, Among the Hidden, is the story of Luke finding out at 12 years old that he shouldn't exist. This is a harsh reality for a young child, but it's all too real. So I want you all to think about, as we're reading and we do these activities, what it would feel like if you were in Luke's shoes. I'm going to read the first portion of chapter 1 to get us going. He saw the first tree shudder and fall, far off in the distance. Then he heard his mother call out the kitchen window, "Luke, inside now!" He had never disobeyed the order to hide. Even as a toddler, barely able to walk in the backyard's tall grass, he had somehow understood the fear in his mother's voice. But on this day, the day they began taking the woods away, he hesitated. He took one extra breath of the fresh air, scented with clover and honeysuckle and, coming far away, pine smoke. He laid his hoe down gently and savored one last moment of feeling warm soil beneath his bare feet. He reminded himself, "I will never be allowed outside again. Maybe never again as long as I live." He turned and walked away into the house, as silently as a shadow. "Why?" he asked at the supper table that night. It wasn't a common question in the Gardner house. There was plenty of hows. How much rain did the backfield get? How's planting going? Even what's? What did Matthew do with the 5/16 wrench? What's Dad going to do about that busted tire? But why wasn't considered much worth asking. Luke asked again, "Why'd you have to sell the woods?" Luke's dad harumphed and paused in the midst of shoveling forkfuls of boiled potatoes into his mouth. "Told you before. We didn't have a choice. Government wanted it. You can't tell the government no." Mother came over and gave Luke's shoulder a reassuring squeeze before turning back to the stove. They had defied the government once, with Luke. That had taken all the defiance they had in them, maybe more. "We wouldn't have sold the woods if we hadn't had to," she said, ladling out thick tomatoey soup. "The government didn't ask us if we wanted houses there." She pursed her lips as she slid the bowls of soup onto the table. "But the government's not going to live in the houses," Luke protested. At 12, he knew better, but sometimes still pictured the government as a very big, mean, fat person, 2 or 3 times as tall as an ordinary man, who went around yelling at people, "Not allowed!" and "Stop that!" It was because of the way his parents and older brothers talked. "Government won't let us plant corn there." Again, "Government's keeping the prices down." "Government's not going to like this crop." "Probably some of the people who live in those houses will be government workers," Mother said. "It'll all be city people." If he had been allowed, Luke would have gone over to the kitchen window and peered out of the woods, trying for the umpteenth time to picture rows and rows of houses where the firs and the maples and oaks now stood, or had stood. Luke knew from a sneak peek right before supper that half the trees were now toppled, some already laying on the ground, some hung at weird angles from their former lofty positions in the sky. Their absence made everything look different, like a fresh haircut exposing a band of untamed skin on a forehead. Even from deep inside the kitchen, Luke could tell that the trees were missing because everything was brighter, more open, scarier. "And then when those people move in, I have to stay away from the window?" Luke asked, though he knew the answer. The question made Dad explode. He slammed his head down on the table. "Then? You gotta stay away now. Everybody and his brother's going to be trampling around back there to see what's going on. They see you." He waved his fork violently. Luke wasn't sure what the gesture meant, but he knew it wasn't good. No one has ever told him exactly what would happen if anyone saw him. Death? Death was what happened to the runt pigs who got stepped on by their stronger brothers and sisters. Death was a fly that stopped buzzing when the swatter hit it. He had a hard time thinking about himself in connection with the smashed fly or the dead pig gone stiff in the sun. It made his stomach feel funny, even trying. I don't think it's fair if we've got to do Luke's chores now, Luke's older brother Mark grumbled. Can't he go outside some? Maybe at night? Luke waited hopefully for the answer, but Dad just said, no, without looking up. It's not fair, Mark said again. Mark was the second son, the lucky second, Luke thought when he was feeling sorry for himself. Mark was 2 years older than Luke, and barely a year younger than Matthew, the oldest. Matthew and Mark were easily recognizable as brothers, with their dark hair and chiseled faces. Luke was fairer, smaller boned, softer looking. He often wondered if he ever looked tougher like them. Somehow he didn't think so. Luke don't do nothing nohow, Matthew jeered. We won't miss his work at all. It's not my fault, Luke protested. I'd help more if... Mother laid her hands on his shoulders again. Hush, all of you, she said. Luke will do what he can. He always has. The sound of tires on their gravel driveway came through the open window. Now who? Dad started. Luke knew the rest of the sentence. Who could that be? Why were they bothering him now? His first chance all day to sit down. It was a question Luke always heard at the end of the other side of a door. Today, skittish because of the woods coming down, he scrambled up faster than usual, dashing for the door to the back stairs. He knew without watching that Mother would take his plate from the table and hide it in a cupboard, would slide his chair back in the corner so it looked like an unneeded spare. In 3 seconds, she would hide all evidence that Luke existed, just in time to stop to the door and offer a weary smile to the fertilizer salesman or the government inspector or whomever else had come to interrupt their supper. That was chapter 1 of Among the Hidden. I want you all to reflect on what it means to be Luke Gardner and how you would deal in that situation. The standard I chose for Among the Hidden is LAFS.6.SL.1.1. Engage effectively in a range of collaborative discussions, one-on-one, in groups, teacher-led, with diverse partners on 6th grade topics, texts, and issues, building on each other's ideas and expressing their own clearly. I chose that standard because of how broad it is. It means I can tailor the learning level centers to other standards as well, like point of view, compare and contrast. I think this book is ideal for 6th graders because at this age, they're becoming more aware of the world around them and the injustice that the world has. They're starting to form their own opinions. Like Luke. Luke is evidently upset that he can't go in the woods. His whole world, as different as it is from his brothers, is being changed again. And I feel like being hidden is good so that students can identify, because everybody hides. Everybody has something different. While listening to an interview from YouTube from the author Margaret Peterson Haddock, she said that Among the Hidden became as a prop that students use. Students who were afraid to come out to families about their sexuality, students who are afraid to come out and be true to themselves. It's a book that can exceed the actual story that students can use in their day-to-day life. When they read it, they're no longer going to be them. They're going to be Luke. However, they're going to find out more about themselves while reading it.